Mexico City. We are going to be putting in a poker session today. Hey, what's up guys? I am in a beautiful mansion in an exclusive part of Mexico City. Can't really take pictures here for safety concerns, but we're gonna be playing poker. I don't know the stakes. We'll figure that out. It's some enormous number of pesos, but we'll see how it goes. Probably gonna be playing like 12 hours, so there's gonna be tons of hands to talk about later on. Excited. Hey guys, we're in Mexico City. It's Olga's birthday today. It's been an eventful 5 days. We are flying back to San Diego tonight. I have so much to catch you guys up on. It was a perfect vacation. Played poker, did a holistic retreat that scared me at times. We ate and we drank and we saw electronic music. So it couldn't have been a better vacation. I'll be sure to share the craziness that was the poker. So see you guys later. Poker in Mexico City. You guys are really gonna love this episode. Before I get started, I just want to thank Angel Guillen and Lingel Martin for opening up their place for me in the neighborhood of La Condesa in Mexico City. They have an absolutely beautiful apartment, and thank you so much for having me. And Angel and Hel, thank you so much for taking me to the underground poker game because I had so much fun. We had 2 tables of pretty much 50, 100 peso going. There was straddling on the button. There was straddling from under the gun up to 300 or 400 pesos at some point. So the game was playing big. I was in the game for 50,000 pesos and Hel was in the game for 100,000 pesos. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how big the game was. The action was very loose. We were playing the Deuce 7 game, but since there were 2 tables, if the Deuce 7 showed up on one table, all 18 players or 17 players owed 500 pesos. So you can imagine that, 9,000 peso swings with just having Deuce 7 created a very interesting dynamic where Deuce 7 had an extremely high value in this game. When I looked down at Deuce 7, it looked like aces to me. I was excited for the hand because I knew that there was a potential to win 8,000 pesos aside from the actual pot. The setting for the game was actually really cool as well. There was massage therapists, there were girls taking our order, micheladas, beers, food, tortas, little special things that made it such a great experience. So I would actually love to go back, and the game was amazing as well, so that definitely helped. But this was actually a vacation for us as well because Olga flew in the next day and I picked her up at the airport and we were off to the mountains of Tepoztlán for a hotel stay / retreat with a couple of friends of ours where the hotel was based in mindfulness. They had a lot of activities centered around mindfulness. For example, we did this thing called the Temazcal, which was pretty scary actually. I may or may not have feared for my life within the first 5 minutes of them closing the door and closing the lid on this little crock pot that we were in. The temperature got really hot. It was difficult to breathe. When I realized that I could go lower in the crock pot for some air, it relieved some of my claustrophobic stress and some of my fears with not being able to breathe or having it be too hot. But aside from that, they had all kinds of activities with shamans. It was very woo-woo, but at the same time, it was really fun. So I'm glad that we did that. We stayed there for a couple days, checked out the town of Tepoztlán, which was actually a really cool town. It's called Pueblo Mágico, which They designate these towns in Mexico that meet certain criteria as these magical towns. Oh, and then we went to EDC Mexico, and EDC Mexico was absolutely amazing because we got to experience EDC Mexico in a way that most people don't get to experience it. Over the last, probably say, close to a year now, I have developed a friendship with Zed, the producer, the DJ. And when Olga and I were in Vegas 2 weekends ago, we saw him at Omnia, and EDC Mexico came up that we were going to be down there, and he invited us. If I would have picked one person that was very instrumental in me falling in love with electronic music and really appreciating the genre, I would probably boil it down to him being my number one influence. And he's someone that I went to see in Chicago 5 years ago on New Year's Eve, so I specifically traveled to see him. His song Spectrum was a song that really spoke to me in a way that a lot of other songs didn't. He's produced Lady Gaga's album, various albums for Justin Bieber, songs for Selena Gomez. Like, he's just all over the place, and he's an absolute savant when it comes to music. To top it off, he is just an absolute, genuinely good guy. And it says a lot about someone who ignores how famous you are or ignores what you can bring to them in terms of value and just purely sees you for energy and friendship and lets me into a circle like that. That says a lot about his character. So if you're watching, Anton, thank you so much for the experience from this past weekend. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you. You are a great friend and an even better person. So cheers and good luck to everything that comes your way. You deserve it, man. I'm actually going to share something really personal with you guys that I thought is very interesting. I'll be right back. I want to say like 3 years ago, Olga and we put together these things called vision boards. I wanted to share my vision board with you guys. It's been in my home office for the last 3 or 4 years now. First of all, here it is. So I want to share some things with you on this board. This picture of my family up here, my vision that I create a great relationship with my family has been center for me. And especially these last, I would say 3 months, especially when my stepmom passed, has been a tough time for my family. And I've been traveling back and forth a lot to see my dad and see other members of my family. So this has definitely been something that I've had in the front of my consciousness. And here's Olga and I traveling. Obviously, traveling with Olga has been a big part of my vision. I thought it was really interesting that Olga and I were in Mexico this past weekend. Here's a picture of me, obviously, playing poker. One thing that I had been thinking a lot about in relation to poker was that I wasn't building any sort of legacy, and I wasn't really contributing anything to the world, nothing that I could really be proud of. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start Deep Vibes, really build something that I could be proud of and something that created greater good for the world. But I think it's super interesting that this word legacy is touching my arm in poker, because through this vlog, I've actually been building a legacy within poker of positive vibes, helping people. And it's something that almost happened by accident, which I think is really cool. And here I am DJing, which is something that I really love to do, create music and DJ for my friends. I DJ'd last week at Olga's yoga event. And this sticker is a local San Diego brand. This is symbolic because I actually created a brand locally here in San Diego. So this kind of represents me creating my own brand. What I wanted to touch on was this picture right here. It's a picture from EDC, and you can see there's a guy with his hands in the air overlooking the DJ decks, and there's a huge crowd of people in the background. Sure, it was part of my vision, like, to be on the stage with this view, and I never really knew how it could happen because I'm not talented when it comes to music production. But what I find so interesting is that I recreated this picture this past weekend in Mexico City, and I couldn't sleep the other night, and I got up and I found this vision board in my office, and I just looked at everything, and I was overwhelmed with how accurate this board is in so many ways. And the cherry on top was having this photo right here come to life this past weekend. When I created this vision board, it was something to strive for. It was something to see every day, something to remind me of things that I wanted to create in my life, legacy, traveling, relationship with family, relationship with my wife, You know, this is well before we were married. Being on stage at EDC is just like the brand. It was really overwhelming for me, and I just had to pull this out and look at it the other night and be grateful for what I've been able to create in my life. And so I just wanted to take a moment and share that with you guys and tell you guys to participate in that activity yourself, you know? Get clear on what your vision is. Get clear on what you want to see happen in your life, because if it's not even clear in your head, you're not going to be able to manifest it in your real life. I'm going to have to create a new one of these boards because it's shifting. I am living a lot of the things that are on this board, but at the same time, I need to keep growing. So shoot, maybe I'll put a picture of me winning the main event or something, and we can make that one come to life. All right, guys, remember how I said deuce 7 had very high value in this game? Well, there's going to be a lot of deuce 7 hands here. The blinds are 50 and 100. Action starts with an early position raiser, raising it up to 600. There are 2 callers in between, and I look down at the deuce 7 on the button. So I go ahead and 3-bet this one to 3,500. Big blind ends up shipping it all in for around 19,000. The pre-flop raiser ends up folding, but the first caller of the raise ends up shoving his last 10K into the middle. And when it folds back to me, this is actually more of an interesting decision than you might think, because there is so much added money to the pot if I win with deuce 7 here. If I actually win this pot, there's close to 8,000 pesos added. So I have to factor that in. But against 2 people that are all in, I just decided to let this one go. I didn't run the math, obviously. I was drinking micheladas and having a lot of fun. So wasn't doing any math at this point, but I think that I have to fold this with deuce 7. The big blind ends up having deuce 7, and the early position guy who shoved the 10K has ace king. They run it twice and end up chopping. I would have made a fair amount of money on this one if I would have just stuck it in with the deuce 7. Kind of gives you an idea of how valuable deuce 7 is in this game. In this next hand, Angel is the button straddle. It's 300 on the button, and I look down at pocket queens in the small blind. So I go ahead and open it up to 1,600. I end up getting 3 colors, and we go 4 ways to the flop. Flop comes 10-7-3 with 2 hearts, and I go ahead and continuation bet 2,600. There's a fold, and then someone shoves all in for 14,000 pesos. The button folds, and it's back on me. Don't really see much of a choice here. Granted, there were 4 people to the flop, but the fact that there's a 10 and a 7 with 2 hearts, straight draws, and flush draws out there, and an already big pot, never going to be folding queens here against an unknown opponent in a crazy action-packed game. So go ahead and call it off. Unfortunately, he has pocket 10s, so we're drawing super slim. One of the things you guys might remember is that I don't run it twice, but in Mexico City, in an underground game, I'm definitely going to be conforming to the culture that is running it twice. Everyone is running it twice, and people are even rebating each other small amounts if they crush the other player. So I'm going to maintain the status quo here and maintain the friendly environment, and I'm going to be running it twice as well. Doesn't matter because pocket 10s hold up on this board, and we end up doubling the other guy up. Instantly stuck over 30,000 pesos, which I believe is close to $2,000. Feels like play money. So we rebuy another 20K. We are now in the game for 50K when I pick up deuce 7 again. So this is definitely a great opportunity to make some money back. Early position player makes it 300. Angel calls it 300. And I make it 2K in the cutoff. Original raiser folds and Angel makes the call. The flop comes Jack 8-3 rainbow, and Angel checks it over to me. I put out a C bet of 2,500, and he quickly check folds, much to the dismay of his table mates.
¿Qué está pasando en esta jugada, güey? Jugada estelar, 2 mesas. 7-2, gracias, Guillén. Gracias, Guillén.
Because we collect 500 pesos times 15 players plus the actual pot. So this is a very nice pot for us. Next hand, I open it up with pocket queens in middle position, and I get 2 callers on my left. Woman in the 5 seat 3 bets me to 2,000. We are playing around 30K effective. I definitely could raise here, but I decide to just call. Player on my left folds and the next to act ends up calling, so we go 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace-6-3 with 2 clubs, and I go ahead and check it over. She continues for a bet of 3,600, and this is normally a spot where I will be calling, but given that there is a player on my left that still has to act, I decide to just fold this one on the ace-high board. I don't really want to go into hero call mode 3 ways here with pocket queen, so after I let it go, the guy on my left folds, and she confidently and very happy, I must say, flips over the deuce-7 offsuit. So not only do we lose with pocket queens to deuce-7 when she doesn't have anything, but we also have to pay her an extra 500 pesos. So adding salt to the wound. In this next hand, there's a 250 peso straddle on the button. An early position player makes it 1,200. And Hell calls, and I'm next to act, and I make the call with pocket 4s. We end up going 5 ways to a flop, which is absolutely beautiful for us. It is king, queen, 4 with 2 hearts, so we flop bottom set. The original raiser c-bets 3,500, and Hell calls at 3,500, and we are sitting here with bottom set, definitely going to be raising on this board. I make it 15,000. Original better folds, and Hell now quickly shoves all in. We're around 35K effective. So I end up obviously calling quickly. First board runs out with another heart and then another heart on the river. The second board ends up making a queen on the turn, so we make a full house. But we actually end up chopping it because Angel has king queen. It was around this point that people start to realize that I am Johnny Vibes, and one of the guys actually pulls me up on the cell phone. And they start watching me, and they start calling me
Johnny, the man, the legend.
And it was pretty funny because they were just having a lot of fun with it. And there was actually a guy that was on TV that was playing in our game, and he was really fun. The atmosphere was just really crazy. Here's a clip of us singing, and you can see that the lights were off, and there was LED lights. In this next hand, we are playing 6-handed now. Both tables are getting a little short, and an early position raiser makes it 600 to go. I look down at pocket 7s in late position, and I make the call. We end up going heads up to a flop of king 3-4 with 2 diamonds. He bets 800, and despite there being a king on the board with pocket 7s here, even though our hand isn't going to improve very often, I still think that this is definitely a call because we are going to be ahead of his c-betting range. And the fact that we are in position, it's going to be pretty easy to figure out if we have the best hand or not. The turn comes a queen, and when he checks it over to us, I don't see a lot of value in betting. Sure, a hand like ace-jack or jack-10 will be calling, so we could value bet against those types of hands. But I think that there is definitely more value in checking on this turn, so we check it back. The river is a jack, and now he leads, so there's a lot of Broadway cards on this board, and given this line of raise pre, c-bet flop, check turn, lead river, this is generally not a bluff line from the pre-flop aggressor. So we end up making the fold, and he flashes the queen jack, so pretty easy fold, but still nice to see that he made the 2 pair. Okay, this is the last hand I'm going to cover, and unfortunately I didn't get this one on camera. I have no idea how. I've been playing for over 10 hours at this point, and I was drinking a lot, so somehow I just missed this one, but it was a very interesting hand because, of course, I have the deuce-7 again. I open it up to 600. We're playing 5-handed at this point, and Angel is on the button. He has moved seats now, and he 3-bets me. We are around 40K effective. He has me covered, and it folds back to me. Rather than just go to town and go crazy in the situation, I decide to just call with the deuce-7 and play post-flop, hoping that he doesn't have much and I'll be able to take it away post-flop. Flop comes king 9-3 rainbow, and I check it and he checks it back. The turn is the 6 of diamonds, and I bet fairly quickly. Perhaps a timing tell. I want to convey strength. Not sure if he's really reading too much into it. He just calls. The river is a 5, and we can't stop bluffing now. Not only is there a lot of money in the pot, but we stand to make a lot of money through winning with deuce-7. So I make a pot appropriate bet. I could size up a little bit. I end up betting 8,500. Angel's a really good player, and I don't want to polarize the strength of my hand with a bet size that's huge because he's the type of player that can sniff that out in a heartbeat. So when I bet 8,500, he thinks about it not for too long and he lets it go. And we collect a really nice pot to get us back in the black, and we end up winning. So it's so nice to have 7,000 pesos spending money. That's close to $500, I believe. And we use that in Tepoztlán. We used it in Polanco to spend and made the vacation not quite as expensive. But it was, like I said, it was so much fun. The atmosphere was just so great. Can't wait to go back. Before I let you guys go, I want to give a special shout out to Joe and his son, Mookie. They reached out to me and said they really enjoy the vlogs. And I love that a father and son are enjoying the vlogs together. I have a really special relationship with my dad as well. I think it's really cool that you guys share poker vlogs together. So, like I said, shout out to you, Riley, Mookie, and your dad, Joe. For the rest of you, I don't even know what I'm doing next. I'm going to be playing poker. I might go to LA, might stick around San Diego, but I'm going to be in town this next weekend. We'll figure it out. Thanks for following along, guys, and we'll see you in the next vlog, or we'll see you in a poker room near you. Take care. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm giving you guys a mid-session update. I'm still in the game. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm in for 50,000 pesos, and I'm down right now. Not exactly sure how much, but I'm having a lot of fun, and there's been a lot